الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. All praise is due to Allah, and His praise and blessings and peace be upon His Prophet Muhammad and the rest of the prophets and the messengers and their followers until the Day of Judgment. My dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for joining us for another episode of The Robe That Binds Us, ahlusunnah waljama'aah. In the previous episode, we were talking about the source of religion, the authentic source of religion, where we drive our religion or our rules from and our informations related to the religion from. And we talked about Al-Quran and As-Sunnah and also al-ijma', the consensus. Basically, these are the three sources of religion. Do we have it in the plasma here? Okay, we don't have it right now. We have the main three sources of religion are the Quran and the Sunnah and the consensus or the ijma'. In this episode, we will talk about the opposite, which is the unacceptable source. We now know what's the acceptable source, and let's talk about the unacceptable source in our religion. Because there is some people have taken other than these sources as a source to drive rules and beliefs from it. First one, we call it al-istihsan al-aqli, or in another word, logic, or what seems is to be good sense. Some people think that whatever they think it's good, it means it will be accepted. And whatever people think it's acceptable, it means it can be part of the religion. Whatever it seems to be good, why not? Let's adopt it, or let's practice it, or let's believe it, or let's add it to the religion. This is not acceptable in Islam. We only take from Al-Quran, As-Sunnah, and Al-Ijma' or the consensus, whatever, any matters that there is a consensus on it from the Muslim scholars. So, the logic or what it seems to be good is not a right way to establish any rules or to establish any belief in Islam. Also, dreams. And you might be surprised with that. There is people sometimes establish their beliefs or their action based on dreams. For instance, those who are celebrating the birthday of the Prophet ﷺ, this is start as a dream. Somebody saw in his dream the Prophet ﷺ came to him and told him, why you don't celebrate my birthday as a way of showing your appreciation to me or as a way of showing your love to me. Then he started that, then it became something common in the Muslim world. Somebody said, I saw in my dream so-and-so sheikh or so-and-so prophet came to me and told me pray 20 rak'ah in that place. And it was common in the time of Ibn Kathir rahimahullah that people start going to one cave in Damascus and performing a prayer there because they saw in their one sheikh or one person claimed that he saw in his dream somebody ordering him to go in that cave and perform such and such number of prayer or rak'ahs, and this is a great deed. So people start practicing that. We don't take our religion from dreams. Dreams are not a source of religion, are not a source of religion or information or to establish rules or beliefs in Islam. Also, some people, they might take the religion or establish a rule from historical events. From historical events. This historical event might be narrated in the books of Seerah, but has no chain of narrator, or they will take it from the book of history, which is not necessarily to be an authentic narration. I'll give you an example. Some people said it is allowed for people to call upon Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and to seek his help while they are in calamity. And we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks us, when we are in a calamity, to call him alone, to seek his help and aid alone. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. We worship you alone and we seek help from you alone. But we don't seek help or aid from dead people, or somebody who cannot hear me, or he cannot help me because he's unable to do that. The dua, the calling, the prayer should go only to Allah, because this is an act of worship, and we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only. Anyway, some people said we can do that. What's the proof for that? They said, because it been reported that Muslim in one of the battle, they were attacked by the enemy, then they start saying, "Oh Muhammad, oh Muhammad, oh Muhammad, help us," in the battle of Al-Yamamah. Even though this narration is weak, but it's a historical event. You cannot use it as a source of religion, or you cannot derive from it rules unless it's authentic. Also, some people said that listening to music is permissible based on the incident where the Prophet ﷺ entered Medina and people were singing and dancing and using drums and instruments. So they said this is show that it's permissible to dance or to be mixing or to be listening to, or to listen to music. First of all, this is a historical event. If we need to see how authentic this narration is, the same way they saying it, no doubt the Prophet ﷺ, when he entered Medina, people were there and waiting for him and were singing and welcoming the Prophet ﷺ. But you cannot take the historical event as an event without proving the details of it by an authentic chain of narrators, and to take just because it's been mentioned in a history book to be a source of religion, or you can base a rule on it. Also, there are so many examples of historical events being used by some people as a source of their information or source of their ideas or their beliefs or their ideologies even. Some people might say that in the history of Islam, so-and-so leader attack the enemy or attack his neighbors because they were not Muslims. Or he did this and that to their children or to the woman or to the people. This is not the way to understand the religion. We don't take rules from historical events or stories. No, we take the rules from Al-Quran and As-Sunnah and whatever the Muslim agree upon, the Muslim scholars agree upon. Also, people take sometimes their religion from fairy tales. And I'm sorry to say that, but this is exists, that some people will say, you should pray that much amount of prayer or say this kind of dhikr. Why? Because a story they invent about certain sheikh came in the night and he did this and he did that. And there is so many weird story like that we hear, and they tell you, okay, that's the proof that you have to do this or you're not allowed to do that. Somebody told me once, it's forbidden for you to put your back to that. I was once in a masjid, and it happened, and I was surprised that in this masjid were a grave where people go and make tawaf around it. And I was curious to see what people doing circling around this grave. Anyway, and I was very sad to see that. Anyway, when I was walking back, I gave my back to the to the grave and even to the Qibla, actually, to the direction to Mecca. Somebody just run after me and said, don't give your back to this grave. You know, so-and-so person walked once from the grave and he gave his back to the grave. And what happened to him? He got paralyzed. And maybe Allah will punish you for that. And they start giving you all these fairy tales and these stories. And people think, okay, so what? How to get the exit? By facing the grave and going back. Even he doesn't, I told him, what about the Mecca, the Kaaba, the Qibla? I give my back to the Kaaba when I leave. So fairy tales cannot be a source of religion. Yes, blind imitation also. Some people just imitating certain scholars or certain individuals blindly. And they take the religion from their actions. So whatever he did, he will do. Regardless he did that for a reason or not, is it correct or not, they don't care. He did it, we just following it. This is not the way to establish your belief or your religion. So you cannot say, the proof for this is so-and-so said, or because this is the madhab, or because this is the opinion of so-and-so sheikh or scholar. This doesn't make it acceptable, or it doesn't make it Islamically correct. I would like to emphasize a little bit before we move on to the logic. What's really our position from logic? Because we have two extremes. People who don't consider logic as a tool of understanding the religion, or they are totally against the concept of logic, and there is other people are exaggerating on this issue so much to the extent that they will reject the clear sunnah and the evidence from Quran and sunnah just because they couldn't understand it or it doesn't make maybe sense to them. So they put their logic as a judge over the textual evidence. It's not a source for rules in Islam. It's not a source for rules in Islam. It is the tool for understanding the religion. See the difference? It's not a source, but it's the tool for understanding the religion. If a person, he is insane, he is not mukallaf. There is no taklif. It means he is not a person who's been asked to practice he will be responsible for his action. It will not contradict Sharia. It will not contradict the Islamic rules. Logic, the correct logic, should not contradict the Islamic rules. Also, logic is used in establishing analogies. I'm just going to give you of what we call logical rules. Logical rules always sound complicated, but they are very simple. For example, thinking that something does not exist doesn't mean that it does not truly exist. I don't know if there is, for example, a green car in this neighborhood. I said, I don't know there is a green car in this neighborhood. It doesn't mean there is no green car. It could be there is a green car, but I'm not aware of it. So that's what you call logical rules. Also, the correlation between two things doesn't mean they mutually depend on one another. But sometimes the dependence comes from one side only. See, it sounds like complicated, but it's very easy. Now, when there is a rain, the floor or the ground must be wet. That's right. That's right. So here, there is rain, the floor will be wet. But if you see the floor wet, it means it was raining. Or if you see the street wet, it means it was raining. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. That's what basically this means. Maybe I can give you one more example. That's enough. Denial of the general implies the negation of the specific. But the denial of the specific does not necessarily imply the negation of the general. Again, it sounds very complicated, but it's very easy. If I say, for example, there is no flowers in this garden, it means there is no roses. That's right. If I said no flowers, it means there is no roses. But if I said there is no roses in this garden, it doesn't mean there is no other kind of flowers. That's what this means. What I'm trying to say here, that logic, the common sense are very few, and it's a common sense everybody agree with. So there's no need to exaggerate in this issue and use the logic as a tool to reject the Quran and Sunnah. We should use the logic to support the textual evidence and the rules of Sharia. That's why the best of the scholars, who the one who used the logical evidence to support his views and his ideas and his rules, or the rules he's establishing from Al-Quran and As-Sunnah. Unfortunately, this will bring us to the conclusion of our episode today, of today's episode. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I will see you inshallah in the near future.